Merry Mohawk Christmas. So Christmas Eve at Mohawk facility, they had five green dots. Now, in Auburn translation, that's five medical emergencies. We've talked about what a medical emergency is. A medical emergency is when everybody stops, the whole jail locks down, the nurse grabs her bag and starts heading towards wherever the medical emergency called, and staff starts moving towards a medical emergency. It's usually a non-responsive or something extreme. And medical emergencies aren't like if you're just high and wandering around. That's just a hey, we got a couple guys coming over to medical, be ready, and they escort them over. Or if a guy says, I'm having chest pains, I can't breathe, that's not a medical emergency. Well, unless he's not actually not breathing, we get that all the time. So for their Christmas Eve day, which is a really important time because on Christmas Eve day, everybody's locking down to go home. You're running out and you're locking the inmates away. You're running on a minimal schedule so the officers can get home and see their kids on Christmas Eve. Um, so at approximately 3 p.m. in Mohawk, they had five medical responses. Five, right? So I think they only had, I forgot what he said. I think they only had two nurses there, right, and five responses. So I don't know. I didn't really grill the guy. This is just a guy let me know how frustrated he's about ready to quit corrections and just wanted to let me know how frustrated he was and said I could use the story. I get a lot of guys that will tell me what's going on, but then hey, don't use my story because they don't want to get outed. But this is a pretty big story that can't be. You'd be hard to pick it down to one pissed off officer because I'm sure Christmas Eve day at 3 p.m. there's a lot of pissed off officers. So I get to tell this story, and so the sergeants were actually calling. Now, a lot of jails in the state have a sister jail or a brother jail, whatever you want to call it, that's right across the road. Mohawk has Marcy. Ulster has, I forgot, I went to it. Um, anyways, Sullivan and Woodburn. Cuga and Auburn, I think, would be that matched pair, but it's 15, 20 minutes away. Most of them are much closer than that. So Mohawk has Marcy. So the sergeants were actually calling Marcy's staff over to Mohawk to handle the medical emergencies. So if one guy has a medical emergency, um, if he's non-responsive, you put him on a stretcher, you bring him medical. Medical comes to you to make sure he's breathing and he's okay. Now, obviously with five, I didn't actually ask, but I'm assuming medical must have stayed in medical. But I guess two would respond to two and three. Anyways, three ended up going over to Marcy and two ended up going staying in Mohawk. So when this happens, you have to have staff for each inmate, and I'm sure I've done this in a video, but I don't know. I just did this video and I spent like 2 hours doing it, and then I screwed it up by saying some stuff that wasn't exactly true that I know wasn't true. Well, I didn't know. I researched it, so then I had to completely redo this video. But I want to get this out there because it meant a lot to this officer. So they get him back there. They when you and he didn't give me the specifics. I'm just telling you how it works. Each one has to be monitored. Blood pressure, cough, make sure they're breathing and talking. You got officers have to stand around in case he comes out violent, and you have to have an officer immediately on him to make sure he continues to breathe. Because if at any point he goes unresponsive, it's Narcan and hospital. Um, and 3 o'clock, so 3 o'clock isn't the same as it used to be. And I didn't ask him. I assumed he was planning on getting out earlier. It used to be the shift ended at 3, so anything that happened at 3, you're just like, if they'd have done it 15, 20 minutes later, or then 3 to 11's got it there all night. Who cares? And if it happens at 3, you're staying late because you're now part of it. You can't just leave. And then either way, you got to do paperwork, especially if he gets Narcan. So uh, yeah, the 3 o'clock is normally a trigger time. I'm guessing the civilians are probably still triggered, so there were probably a bunch of civilians like the nurses. If they weren't working a double shift, they didn't get home to see their family. And five at a time is another thing that probably means there's a bad batch that just went out. But anyways, so they all go down there, they run through it, they run the three guys over to Marcy, and they take care of those three. Everybody lived, nobody got Narcan, I believe, and they all went back. But what really pissed the officer off and made him get mad and send me this message is they found the detox. He found out later that they were tested positive on detox, like they had drugs in their system, and nothing happened. Everybody's night gets blown up. Dozens of people's nights get blown up. God knows if there was an injury running to the situation on ice. Who knows? But we know the night was screwed up. Tons of resources, and absolutely nothing happens. None of that accountability they speak of. And one of the reasons I really want to do this podcast, it's not the worst thing that ever happened. It's five medical emergencies. Everybody lived. Um, But that's the accountability we're talking about. You want accountability for officers, and you want to burn them down for everything. You want to burn officers down for what the state trains them to do. That last Salazar, and there's another Salazar video, New York Times trash bastards coming up because they did it again. They took uh, um, a perfectly well executed by the rules cert extraction and put it on him. Oh, they killed him. He died. It's their fault. And that's going to be a whole different video. It's coming up soon. I got sidetracked. It's the holidays. I'm going to be much more regular now. But I want to get this one out there because this is the monitoring. They don't do that. There's no problems. That guy's not in trouble. They're not tracking down and arresting people for getting drugs over the mail because more than likely it came in under a fake lawyer's name or a real lawyer's name. Who knows? I don't really, from what I understand, it's not even real lawyers. It's a fake law. It's if you make a nice, you can take the same lawyer's name because it's just a return address, and you put it to that inmate. You could even have that lawyer's name, and there's no way to prove it, which I think is why they don't chase it down. But they need to see if there's a pattern. Um, anyways, I'm off the point. That's another subject. But the fact is, there was nothing. The guy was definitely high, definitely did drugs in prison. He didn't make those drugs. He brought those drugs in or bought them from somebody, but he definitely did them, and there's no accountability for him. And that's quite often how it happens. We had a guy, and God, I wish I could remember the numbers exactly. And anybody from Auburn that isn't working anymore and wants to chime in, not that it hurts anybody, but this dude, I think he had 5 Narcans in a week, and one of those, and this is like after the first two, there's nothing in the cell. He puked all over everything. They get all mad, by the way. Oh, you threw all the stuff in my cell. You puked over everything. It's all contaminated. You don't get if you puke on your stuff, it gets disposed of. Write up a little form and you dispose it. Um, he had nothing left in his cell. He had puked all over everything, and wherever he was getting it. He must have been high and get high, and then give it off to the people next to him because there was never any in his cell. We couldn't find any drugs. And one time, at least one time, I can't remember if it was one or two times, but I know for a fact one time. So when you go Narcan and you go out, when you come back from the hospital, you go in a room by yourself to be observation. It's not a one-on-one watch, but the staff is observing you. They do rounds, check on you, make sure you're okay. Then you go back into population. So while he was being watched, which means he had nothing, he was stripped, Narcaned, sent to the hospital, came back, one on one watch, no contact with any inmates, and he Narcaned again. He overdoses again, which means he keeps it in his hiney hole. So, yeah, that's what we're dealing with. That is the extent that these guys want to do this. That is the power we have. And not one time did he get in trouble for any of that. He wasn't written up. I mean, his stuff got thrown away that was puked on. But not one time did he get in any trouble. And that's what we're dealing with. And that was the Merry Christmas Eve at Mohawk. And that was like, I don't know. I know I believe Auburn had an overdose, 538. And this is just, I look at Vinny's page and see it. I haven't actually talked to people. And honestly, I moved past that day. This officer contacted me afterwards. But I think Sing Sing there was a stabbing on Christmas. What else did I have? Medical emergency ambulance at Coxsackie on the 24th. Ulster had a medical emergency. Upstate had a heart attack in the Sallyport. Mohawk had 3. I heard, and this was just I was talking to someone, so I don't have any. I heard there was a big one at Coxsackie. There was a big yard in the fight. Drop gas and shots fired on either Christmas Day or Christmas Eve day. But yeah, and the other thing about that is again we don't get the credit we do. These guys go in there and it's blood and guts and tear gas and puke and drugs and Narcan, and then Salazar puts out a video saying how they were caught on camera beating a man, and it was literally the same words can be said: use of force on that is always by uh, Department of Corrections standards used for use of force. And they just change the words and go, caught beating a man on camera, caught beating an inmate on camera. Um, yeah, I got a whole nother video coming for that one because there's a lot of really important points to touch on that. But this one goes out for the accountability that they don't want for inmates, that they don't want for drugs that do far more damage. And you got to remember, this also works good for corrections because if they're focused on officers are evil, then it's not New York State Department of Corrections' fault. So the Department of Corrections, who has always existed, the Department of Corrections has always existed to stop liability. They don't care about officers or inmates. They care about liability for the state, which is why inmates have always had such a strong hand in corrections because they sue more. You know, they got nothing but time. They go down to law library and they sue them for everything. And then the state's like, ah, we'll just give them $1,000 so we don't have to. We know it's bullshit, but to prove it's bullshit will cost us more than this. And so then they just started suing more and suing more. They didn't look at the long term. Or conspiracy theory, they're trying to destroy the system because long term, if you're right, you fight. And short term, oh, I'll just whatever. And then they just keep now they're just keep getting the thousand and the thousand and 10,000, the 5,000 because the courts don't want to fight it. So they buried themselves that way. But again, Department of Corrections has always existed to stop liability, and it's never been for the officers, but never really worked exclusively against it. Really, some may argue. I'm not saying this. I'm saying I've heard this argument from some forces. Like, so OSI looks and says, "All right, are they going to win a lawsuit on us with this video or not? If we're not going to win a lawsuit, then we don't want to support it, and we shut everything down and everything's clean and we're good. If we are going to win a lawsuit, if we are going to lose a lawsuit, then screw them. You know, they're guilty. We don't have to." Which I talked to some OSI guys. One of my instructors, who I had a lot of respect for from the academy, went to OSI, and I ran into him in I probably can't tell that whole story because now I just told you who he is. But anyways, one of the things he said to me, because OSI gets just shit on because they're the rats. They're after and it's a bad stick because a lot of guys in OSI are doing the lowers work. They're actually, I don't know how to say this, because everyone takes it out of OSI is just like every other structure in the government, in the world. You know, the people out there doing the job, most of them are decent dudes just doing their job. And they have a belief that if an officer's dirty, he needs to get caught. And that's good because nobody likes dirty officers. The problem is we're in the gray zone. What you think is a dirty officer. You know, Salazar would have all the officers put in jail and inmates just run around. And you think that's a joke, but it's really not. I mean, it's not that far off. She would have officers thrown in jail and have their lives ruined for things that the state trained. Um, and for me, certain officers fall victim to the system that the state created, and it's not like our current. It's not Hochul. It's not um, our current commissioner. The name that should not be said. I do hope to work for him again, but it's not. I'm not saying them person. I'm talking this system, and it's the system the whole works on. The power system that has been in place in almost everything, all the bureaucracy. It's design. It's not designed for solutions. It's designed to hold us back. And Salazar and all these other people should. God, that's the name I really shouldn't. That is the one who shouldn't be spoken. The Dark Lord. They should be trying. The reason I don't trust her isn't that she loves inmates. Fine, love inmates. I get it. Inmates are people. They have families, and everyone's gonna have someone that fights their side. Um, but she's working in the old school division. Same with Department of Corrections. They're working in the old school power system, and none of it is meant for solutions. It's all meant for, she gets to get clicks by saying terrible things, and more people vote for her, and she creates emotion. But none of it is designed for solutions. And honestly, how you fix it, you start off every day being a good person and making good decisions and trying that. There's no voting it out. The people got to change. We have to change. We have to look at it differently. And and we all have to start coming to the center and get off. If you're hateful, and even if you're hateful, if you're my people and you hate liberals and oh bummer, and you're making names like you're in junior high, and I'm not saying I never do it. I'm just saying this is the culture we need to get rid of. If you're going oh bummer's in there, or you're making stupid when they do all the Trump names for Trump, it's like stop. That's not productive. Hold on, something's screwy. All right, let's hope that all works. I do not want to have to do this video again. And Salazar, and I'm getting to the next video. I can't wait to do it. Um, just all evil. Like I said, she switches it over from beating an inmate caught on camera to use of force that is recorded, a recorded use of force. Um, But this was their Christmas. Remember their Christmas. Understand that officers are heroes. When you see 707 Narcans or whatever, this year will probably be like 750 that's coming out. I talked to some people. I'm trying to get better numbers. Again, real one, sorry. Everybody press already left. Only the last vestiges of my followers are here at this point. But um, if you get to see, when you get to watch all the, like your what do you call it? My dashboard for my professional dashboard for Facebook. You see it just start dropping like a rock, and then there's like 3 people that follow it to the end of the video. So if you are one of those people, here's a little East. I guess not an Easter egg. That'd be a terrible way to call it. But here's what it is. I found out. This officer told me that you have to that Albany now reports after 3 medical emergencies in a day, which means that they noticed it's an issue and they're recording it. But I'm not going to go into that. Anyways, so he knows, they know, they have it compiled, but Canny doesn't know. It's not on a Canny list. It's not on the fact sheet. That's not there. Like to me, this is a massive indicator that everybody should know. Canny guys, CANY. If you guys truly love inmates and they're your family and you want this and that for them, I get that. You need to get those numbers. You guys can get everything. There's nobody going to listen to me. I'm actually going to start writing some congressmen and stuff and try and get these numbers. I want to know what they have, what information they have compiled on sick calls, sick emergencies, which is a massive indicator of those overdoses. And I Niscoba should be putting this out again. The failures of Niscoba are just, we could do whole shows on the failures of Niscoba. They need to be out. They need to be open. They need to have something like this. Or feed Vinny, feed me. Niscoba reports that there were 715 Narcans. That is 715 lives saved by officers. And that's not one officer per life saved. That is dozens of officers working together, going up. And I don't know when the last time I said this. I know I've said this before, but if you got a guy 5 companies up, and this is before like a couple years ago when it started getting really bad, we just had a stretcher at Auburn, and somebody'd have to run that stretcher up there, get the inmate on the stretcher, and take down 5 flights of stairs with bars. Officers got hurt all the time, whether it's a big hurt or a small hurt, banged your elbow. Like it was a cluster. It was a monkey in a football. But they made it now so we got one you can put them in and it kind of lets itself down the stairs, which is nice. But you still have, just everybody responds, everything stops, and it's very stressful. In Auburn, one of the good things is the nurse grabs the bag and starts heading out, and hopefully staff responds, goes, "Nah, he's breathing. We're bringing him to you." But the nurses get mad because sometimes staff forgets, and the nurses run all the way up, and they meet him halfway up the stairs as the inmates coming down, and the nurses carrying all their bags of shit, going, "What the fuck?" So yeah, I meandered again, and my viewership drops off, but I'll get a lot of good shorts out of it. From all my research on the internet, the shorts are what I need to make the long ones and then put them out there and then cut up in little pieces because the youth, and that's who I want. The 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds. It's kind of projecting because my own 20-year-olds don't talk to me. So I'm trying to get the other 20-year-old. My own, they do talk to me. My own 20-year-olds don't listen to me. So I'm trying to get somebody else's 20-year-olds to listen to me. And that's what shorts do. And so the more I blah blah blah, the more my AI will pick up the shorts and get them out to the kids because the kids are the future and the kids are voting and the kids need to see the truth. And I believe, I think our kids are turning less liberal and more truth. And I think they see people that are called racist and they're called bigots and called transphobes that are like, nah, I just don't care. I'm just not celebrating it. I think our kids are starting. My kids were super liberal, and I think they're coming more towards the middle, which is all I can ask. I don't mind if you're liberal a little bit or right a little bit, but when you start going out on the ends, when you start hating people and believing if the news tells you to hate somebody, they're wrong. They're lying. They're manipulating you. They may not be lying, but they're definitely manipulating you. I still, I remember when we wore our little yellow pins to go to war in Iraq. What a load of shit. Going to war in Iraq was a corporate. I don't even want to talk about it. No disrespect to my soldiers. My soldiers are my favorite people. I'll be honest with you. Correction officers are. The more I study us, the more I learn about us as correction officers, the more I love us. We are the worst because soldiers think they're awesome. Like I'm fighting for my country, or they at least know they're supposed to be. They know what when you say a U.S. Army soldier or U.S. military, you know what that represents, even if you don't feel you live up to that. Correction officer, especially in New York State, or especially around a prison, means asshole, you know. And quite often, in a correction officer's mind, they think, yeah, I'm an asshole. They know it, they live it, and they represent that asshole reputation that officers get. But the more you really study the job and the more you really look in and say, oh, wow, 700 lives, 747 lives, I think, last year, Narcan. That's the ones we officially saved. That's what the average correction officer is cleaning puke out of the cell at 3 o'clock in the morning, uh, or, or carrying this puking body out, getting puke all over you. And and we talk to each other and we grumble and we bitch that there's no accountability for inmates, that they can just do whatever they want, but we don't go out and make sure people know. People need to know, because the only people that are out there telling them are the Salazars, and they're giving them the negative. We need important people to be out there and telling you how awesome corrections, how awesome people that do this job are. And the worst part is, through all this, the awesome people leave. A lot of the best people I know have either left corrections. Not all of them. There's a lot of good officers left in corrections, but a lot of them have either left or saying, "I'm done. I can't do anymore. I'm not doing 10 more years of this. I can't do it." Even myself, I'm not one of the best, but I'm a good person to do corrections. Like, I'm not a great correction officer. I wasn't a great correction sergeant, but I was a good fucking person. And nobody will argue that. They may call me a dope, but they won't say I'm a bad person. And when I thought for a second a little while back that I was definitely going back, I had anxiety. I was like, oh, it just brought me right back to the strike, just feelings into hard to breathe. And I was like, nah, I'll push through that. I'll push through it. And but I know this, I'm not definitely going back to stay for my last 6 years. Although by the time's this done, it all depends. If they drag it out for 3 years, and I only have like 3 or 4 years left, I might not have a choice. But yeah, I'm looking at this is my other option. You guys like, share, and follow. And I'm going to continue working on this craft. And even if I go back to corrections, I'll work on this craft, even if it costs me my correction job. If they give me an NOD for my videos, then I would just put my 2 week notice in and go down and become work for the town. It's my dream, and make this really work. But anyways, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? There's everything in my life is up in the air. It's so funny. We're still waiting on permission from my wife to stay here. She just got her interview on the 28th, I think, and then they sent her another letter. Oh, sorry, that's you don't have that. We spent $260 to request for her to be able to work in the United States while she's waiting for her green card, and they haven't got back to us on that. My unemployment was denied 18 times, and then we went to court and they denied it again. But when I found out that I'm going to do a separate one on my unemployment, but I am in the final appeal right now, and I just found out they sent my argument to a judge. And my argument basically is that the state never gave me the information, never told me that my doctor's note was non-conforming, and the state in the I'm still going to get to do a video about this because there's nobody left watching at this point. But the state actually said in the trial, in the court appearance with me on the other end, that I should have gotten it. They never said I was told that it was not conforming. They said I should have. So they admitted that I should have, but the guy basically, without saying he didn't know, said I don't know if he didn't say I don't know. He goes, it is my understanding that he did, but he didn't say that I did. And I just happened to be having glitchy. My internet was glitchy at that time. It's literally in the transcripts, because after the interview, I said they never told me that it was non-conforming. Nobody ever. I called and they said they never got it, but I knew they got it, and I was not in a good mental place, so I just shut down. My lawyer said, "Well, they said you got it, so when they probably denied." And I said, "Wait, when did that?" And she told me. I'm like, "What the?" So at the end of the hearing, I went and got the transcripts, and I read through the transcripts, and they never said that I got it. They said I should have gotten it. Well, I know I didn't get it, and I know you can't prove that I did if you say it, because it didn't happen. And here's what's really fun. So the further we get away, the more lieutenants and civilians are either leaving the job or retiring. You bring them into court, they got nothing to lose. They don't have to do shit for you. They were under orders and they were told by their supervisors, so they're gonna come out in court and be like, "Yeah, uh, I'll bet money you're gonna find out that they shredded shit." Um, but I know for a fact they just flat out ignored it and acted like it didn't happen, because that's the story of everybody. That's what I called in. They said they didn't have it. I called in. They said they didn't have it. Well, I had the receipts. So now I'm waiting. It went to another judge. My last final rebuttal. We're getting to that in a different one. But that's where I'm at. Everything is up in the air. I'm still February 17th. I go to court for the TROs. Why that's still up, I don't know. That should have been dismissed months months ago. But thank you for. I don't know if I can say his name because I don't have his permission. But my lawyer's awesome, and he's fighting it for me, even though we have had some hiccups in communication. What else do I got up in the air? Yeah, my job. I didn't tell anybody on here, but I failed my CDL test a couple weeks ago. Ugh, it was a stupid mistake. I pulled into an intersection to take a right, and it's a tight intersection, but definitely doable. Well, I didn't have a stop sign. They did. When I pulled in an intersection, I couldn't grab. You do what's called a J hook, and you go out in the intersection and come back. But the guy on the stop sign ran the stop sign. Or he didn't run it. He stopped and went, even though I was in the intersection, and so I couldn't take. So instead of stopping the truck and make sure the intersection was clear, and then J hooking it in on my curve so I can make the curve, I cut the curve short, and my trailer hit the corner. And the sweetheart of a lady there, Geneva's the place you take your CDL. I had a great lady with me, and she's looking back, and I see her look in the mirror, and I go, well, that's an instant fail. I should have shut my mouth and said, oh, missed it. That's what I'm going to do in a couple weeks. I'm going to be like, oh, missed it if that happens. Thank God we missed it. But anyways, I should have my CDL in 2 weeks, and I heard there's a job opened up that I really want in one of the towns, but it doesn't matter. When I get the job, I'll apply for everything out there. So I will be back to work. So hopefully in 2 weeks, everything that's up in the air is going to start to come down. And I just put a Facebook post on basically I'm claiming 2026, bitches. 2026 is mine. I'm going to win so much you're going to call me Donald Trump. Get my Donald Trump coin out. We'll do some February. Oh, January 6th, mother. Oh, I got to do a January 6th one. For those of you that don't know, I was actually at January 6th. Talk about mostly peaceful. It was amazing. Shit, yeah, I got to do that. All right, I'm signing off for today. I got to run a bunch of errands. Tomorrow morning, I'll be heavy hitting. I want to do the Salazar one, and I got to get prepped for January 6th. Um, that was a terrible, terrible experience coming back from something you thought was beautiful and finding out A, what happened in the Capitol, because most people didn't even know what happened in the Capitol, and then B, seeing what your government was putting a twist on. I'm such a shit. I do stupid things, and it's all in my nature. Like people are like you shouldn't do that. That's not smart. I'm like, well, now I'm definitely doing it, and we'll see. Let's see if I can make these stories into something that you want to watch, like, click, and share. So I love you all. Stay strong. 2026 is a new year. It's gonna be freaking awesome. And if I was better at this, I'd have had like a rah rah 2026 one. But I'm gonna have a rah rah January 6th one, and we shall see. I believe in my heart the tables are turning in our government, and hopefully, I believe in my heart they're turning in my life. Um, Last year was so full of shit and tribulations and trials, and it was the hardest year of my life. It was harder than my 23 to 20. I think it was like a 22-year marriage, 23 years together. But I thought that was just soul draining and soul breaking. And then I went through this year, and I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for my wife, Lou, I love you so much, who watches all my stuff, by the way, I'd have broke this year. I couldn't have made it without her. Um, and she's given me a strength that I never have, a confidence that I don't have to go back to work. She will fucking eat bread and cheese with me till the day we die and smile about it and tell me how much she loves me. And I don't have that pressure. And my ex wasn't like that. My ex wasn't a money person. I'll be honest with you, my ex probably would have done it too. So it's not a shot on the children of my mother. She probably would have had my back too, but it's a different. My wife and I, we don't fight. I'm probably gonna edit this part out. This is what happens when I talk too long. But the fact of the matter is, my wife brought me peace this year that I've never known in my life and has given me the foundation of our future to start on, and I'm gonna fucking do it. 2026 is gonna be a hell of a year. So thank you everybody for your support. I love you, and keep watching. It's gonna get better. I promise. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that stuff. Love you. Bye.